department here at the Renaissance Communications Incorporated. This news program is sponsored by Orange Liberia and EcoBank Liberia Limited. My name is Marka Davis, presenting in the headlines. President Joseph Boakai officially launches Liberia's first doctoral programs at the University of Liberia. House Speaker Fonati Kopa vows to resist the holding of separate section by those calling themselves the majority bloc of the House of Representatives on Thursday. British government commits to supporting efforts to abolish the death penalty in Liberia as the civil society human rights advocacy platform launches the abolition of death penalty project in the country. And of the home front, Nigeria's anti-corruption agency drafts a money laundering case against a top cryptocurrency executive to allow him to seek medical treatment abroad. The details of these developments, including the bulletin of news, voices of the newsmakers, are all part of this presentation of News Desk. We're taking a short break to be back. Thanks for rejoining us. Now cross over to Edwin Battaforyen for the bulletin of news. Good evening, Edwin.
Good evening, Marka, and good evening, everyone. President Joseph Boakai has officially launched in Liberia's first doctoral programs at the University of Liberia, held at the Capitol Hill campus of the university. The occasion marks a major milestone in Liberia's academic development and positions the country to significantly enhance its intellectual and research capacity. In a special remark, President Boakai described the launch of the PhD programs in health sciences and education administration as a transformative step in the nation's education sector, aligning with the government's long-term vision for inclusive development. An executive mansion press release quotes President Boakai as saying the launch marks a turning point in Liberia's higher education landscape, adding these programs are part of government's deliberate effort to strengthen academic excellence, research, and innovation in Liberia. The president reaffirmed his administration's unwavering commitment to supporting higher education through investment in infrastructure, research funding, and partnership with international institutions. President Boakai also commended the University of Liberia's leadership and the first cohort of doctoral students for their commitment to this initiative, reminding the students of their critical role as pioneers who must uphold the values of integrity, academic rigor, and innovation. House Speaker Fonati Kofa says he will resist the holding of separate sections by those calling themselves the majority bloc of the House of Representatives. Speaker Kofa said the rules that govern the House must be adhered to rather than violated. The House Speaker said he will use the legal means to demand lawmakers to attend session beginning this Thursday in line with the laws. Appearing on Spoon Talk on Tuesday night, the Speaker said those opting his removal as Speaker must obtain the total of 49 members of the House out of the 73 lawmakers that make up the House membership. He believes that once they cannot obtain such a member, any form of separate session carried out at the House this Thursday's sitting will be reinsisted. In a related development, Representative Musability has reiterated his statement against attempts to unlawfully remove the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Representative Belete said Speaker Fonati Kofa will remain as Speaker of the House unless it is done through votes, and it takes the signatures of 49 lawmakers to do so. The Nimba County District Number 7 representative, speaking in a live Facebook podcast on Wednesday, called on members of the House to place the interests of the country above all other interests in the midst of the ongoing leadership crisis. At the same time, Representative Musability is calling for a reform of the legislature to ensure it serves the purpose of good governance. He maintained that fight to remove Speaker Kofa is not in the interest of the country. As part of their humanitarian gesture, the Greater Monrovia Lion Club has donated 20 locally made dustbands to the Monrovia City Corporation. According to the president of the Greater Monrovia Lion Club, Councillor Bobby Livingstone, The donation is an initiative part, but disclosed that more garbage bins will be donated early November. Councillor Livingstone further disclosed that the process will be a continuous donation, adding it is a pilot project and put the cost of the 20 dustbin at over 1,000 United States dollars. He said the locally made dustbins will help garbage collection in and around the city. Receiving the items, Monrovia City Mayor John Siafa, who is a member of the Lions Club, thanks his colleagues for the donation, terming it as very important. Mayor Siafa said the MCC needs the support of all, stressing that waste management is everyone's business. The Monrovia City Mayor disclosed that presently the MCC has 6 trucks in the entire city with over 1.5 million people. He noted that the 6 trucks are not enough to carry out the day-to-day operations in collecting waste and around the city. The newly appointed director for the Zozo Rural Teachers Training Institute, ZRTTR in Lofa County, A.B. Kotu Kekula, has announced ambitious plans to elevate the institution from a B certificate program to a bachelor degree program. In his first media engagement, Kekula highlighted ZRTTR's reputation as one of Liberia's leading teacher training institutions and emphasized the need to provide an improved learning environment for aspiring teachers in the region. According to him, the proposed transitions will offer students from Lofa, Bang, and Nimba counties the opportunities to obtain bachelor's degree locally and will help reduce the necessity of traveling to urban areas for higher education. Kekula outlined his strategy to meet with school administrators in Lofa, Bang, and Nimba counties to encourage their students to take advantage of the teacher certification programs offered at ZRTTR, something he believes will significantly enhance the educational sector in the central region. He further explained that the shift to bachelor's degree program is expected to create more opportunities for future teachers and strengthen the educational workforce in Liberia. The British government has committed to supporting efforts to abolish the death penalty in Liberia. British Ambassador to Liberia Neil Brantley said Liberia, as signatory to the second optional protocol to International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, is required to impose moratorium on execution and amend its law to eliminate death penalty. Ambassador Brantley noted that while many countries are moving towards abolition, states must not be complacent, as last year saw the highest execution rate in a decade. He reaffirmed the commitment of the United Kingdom to universal abolitions of death penalty, stating that his government remains supportive of Liberia's efforts to repeal it from its law. He was speaking Wednesday in Monrovia when the Civil Society Human Rights Advocacy Platform of Liberia, with funding from the British Embassy, launched the Abolitions of Death Penalty project. Also speaking during the ceremony, the chairman of the board of directors of the platform, Reverend Francis Colley, said there is a growing consensus for universal abolitions of the death penalty and torture, and it is the right time for Liberia to join the rest of the world to abolish these two crucial anti-human rights acts. Reverend Colley underscored the need for Liberia government and the CSO to use collective approach to eradicate inhuman treatment, including torture. The ceremony, which was held at a local hotel, was graced by representatives of the Ministry of Justice, the European Union, the West African Regional Organization, ECOWAS, civil society organizations, and the media. Integrity Watch Liberia, in collaboration with Tax Justice Network Africa, has ended a one-day stakeholders dialogue aimed at enhancing the national policies on increasing domestic revenue mobilization and curbing illicit financial flows in the country. Speaking at the opening of the dialogue held at the Monrovia City Hall on Wednesday, Integrity Watch Program Director Navin Ireland said the discussions were intended to get public input and raise the necessary funding to support national development initiatives. According to Ireland, there is a need to amend the laws on personal income tax, real property administration transfers, the rent control bill, and the export proceed tax. The Integrity Watch program director also encouraged citizens' participation on these bills so as to enable members of the legislature to make informed on these proposed amendments. An international conservationist, Cynthia Bradford, has indicated that among the nations of the world, Liberia is best suited to overcome the threat emanating from climate change. Speaking to RCR News Wednesday, Cynthia Bradford said Liberia has a huge opportunity to address the issues of climate change and become a leader in the fight to mitigate its impacts. The American base noted that with the Automate Partnership, the Green Enterprise Development and Innovation Hub continues to play in Liberia, the world would not be in error to rate as the country that saves the promotes biodiversity in the face of global climate change. Cynthia Bradford is president of the University Consortium, and she spoke during the signing of a tripartite memorandum of understanding involving the Cottington University, Nema University, and the African Methodist Episcopal University held on Wednesday in Monrovia. The MOU was signed as part of higher education for conservation activists funded by USAID with an aim to build the skills of Liberia forest and natural resources workforce to support conservation. Nigeria's anti-corruption agency has dropped beg your pardon. The Robert Development Funds Incorporated is calling on Firestone Liberia and other robot buyers to subscribe to the international robot commodity rate. The Robert Development Funds Incorporated is a statutory body established by an act of legislation to regulate the price of robot. Reading the new robot governing body resolution on robot price Wednesday through a resolution, the Robot Planters Association of Liberia Vice President craved the indulgence of Firestone Liberia, Jetty, and other robot producing and buying companies to subscribe the second buying rate. Second is a universal robot buying rate that all robot producing countries have subscribed to, unless Liberia. According to Brown, Firestone Liberia buying rate is at 599 USD. Something he said does not mean the 35% of the prevailing commodity price as prescribed in the second gallon, thus describing its judgmental Robert Planters in Liberia. For his part, the chairman of the Robert Development Funds Incorporated, former Deputy Speaker Tupac Morbat, ensured the body commitment to ensuring that Robert planters' well-being are prioritized. He meanwhile called on actors in the robot sector to comply with the new price set to determine in early November, thus threatening penalty actions to be taken against companies that will put on non-compliance posture. A staunch supporter of the Unity Party-led government is proposing the establishment of a team to keep the president updated on the day-to-day happening in the country. Veteran Liberian journalist Jonathan Paley said the think tank think tank will be based with capturing the issues being raised by members of the public that are affecting. He said when established, the group will also remind the president of promises that he makes at events, including promises made in his inauguration address. This, the former BBC correspondent said, will ensure that the government delivers on its agenda in the interest of the country and for the legacy of the president. Jonathan Paley also told RCR News that the team will comprise of volunteers who are interested in the good of the country. Paley said the initiative will not place any financial burden on the government. And away from Liberia, Nigeria's anti-corruption agency has dropped a money laundering case against top executive to allow him got medical treatment abroad. Tregon Gabayan, a U.S. citizen, was arrested on a business trip to Nigeria in February and later charged alongside his company, Banis, with laundering $35.4 million, which they denied. The 40-year-old was in charge of financial crime compliance at Banis, the world's largest subtotal exchange that Nigeria blames for much of its recent economic turmoil. It accused the digital platform where investors can buy, sell, and trade exchange rate currencies speculation leading to phase fraud of the local currency. The charges against Benin, including tax evasion offenses that is denied, were part of the Nigerian authorities to arrest him. Mr. Gabriel's family has been calling for his release over concerns about his health, saying conditions at Kutensha Central, a prison in the capital Abuja, where he has been held since April, were excavating at Battaforyen. That's it for the news bulletin. Is back to you, Marka Davis.
Ria TV, True FM.
Say Ria TV, True FM.
On Ria TV,
into Truth FM 96.1.
What's the meaning of the black barrier?
The black barrier is to tell Joseph Bakala if you don't organize yourself in a barefoot manner.
Well, the Bulletin of News is a regular feature here on News Desk. Thanks to Edwin Battaforyen for bringing us the news bulletin tonight. If you're just joining us, you are listening to 45 minutes of news from the News and Current Affairs Department here at the Renaissance Communications Incorporated. In one of the top stories we are following tonight, the British government commits to supporting efforts to abolish the death penalty in Liberia as the civil society human rights advocacy platform launches the project to abolish the death penalty in the country. In our first development, embattled House Speaker Fonati Kofa says he will resist the holding of separate section by those calling themselves the majority bloc of the House of Representatives. Kofa said the rules that govern the House must be adhered to rather than being violated. The House Speaker said he will use the legal means to demand lawmakers to attend section beginning this Thursday in line with the House's rules.
House of Representatives is the Speaker, or in absence, the Deputy Speaker presiding over the representative. Of constitutes a quorum. There is no provision in our rules for something called majority block or any other system. Whatever rules we take elsewhere, the Speaker or the Deputy Speaker is a meeting under the Free Association article of our Constitution, not under the articles governing the House of Representatives as it conducts business. So we have to move from the issue of members having meetings during session and come to session. If you want to remove the Speaker, you come to session with your 49 votes and you rock your room. Going elsewhere and calling yourself a majority bloc and pretending to conduct business is not our constitutional order and it will be resisted. Neither Tyler nor Snow was removed. To remove a Speaker, it takes 49 votes and a resolution of members of the House. Honorable Tyler resigned, Honorable Snow resigned. That is the political aspect of it. In order for you to get to the removal of a Speaker, there are two cardinal things you have to do. You have to do a legal part and then a political part. The legal part is the procedure that you get to making a political decision which is the decision to remove. And all along the way, our courts have said procedures must be respected.
He is embattled House Speaker Fodanti Kofa there speaking on Wednesday night on Spoon Talk in Monrovia. In a related development, Representative Musa Belete has reiterated his statement against attempts to unlawfully remove the Speaker of the House. Representative Belete said Speaker Kofa will remain as Speaker of the House unless it is done through votes, and it takes the signatures of 49 lawmakers to do so.
The guys who want people to go to go, they have to lay out everything they want, and the guys who don't want to go to lay out. Let's go to the first, and let's do things, for the rule of law. To take this position is not to show weakness. Like we said, the speaker has no intention to resign. He will not resign. We have heard, particularly from old lawmakers, or not necessarily former lawmakers, but lawmakers who are still on here, saying that because they have happened to two previous speakers, so it should happen to this speaker. The lawmakers that say your legacy is that you have left our country in ruin. So you cannot tell me anything about what used to happen there. You brought all this problem onto us. You have no legacy. You have no saying this. So don't start lecturing us about the fact that they happened before. So today, no, political body is not going to be. If we set up a team and the outcome of that team leads to its resolution, that's okay. But to go and set up a phone call and say that he must resign, he will not resign. We have a constitutional problem because if the House is not in session, not functioning, then the continuity of the Senate may come under legal question.
At the same time, Representative Belete is calling for a reform of the legislature to ensure it serves the purpose of good governance. He maintained that the fight to remove Speaker Kofa is not in the interest of the country.
We don't want people first to see political gestures as weakness. Where we are today, we have a stalemate. We want to solve this problem. We want to go and talk to our colleagues. The House of Representatives will reform. The rules need to be reformed. The manner in which the committees are run need to be reformed. The way we handle the budget needs to be reformed. This conflict must result into something positive. This conflict must result into good thing for the Liberian people. But to say that we're going to insist that you can't remove the loyalty ship that nobody is here. Today, we are for the two people on one side saying that they are majority. You have 21 people on this other side saying that they are the majority, or they are the legitimate people. The majority required to run or to take decision in plenary is not a requirement for speakership. If you are saying that because that a simple majority, you move and elected President Obama, a majority of less than 25,000 people elected President Obama. You think if you have election today, you see people will vote for President Obama?
He is one of those supporting embattled House Speaker Fodanti Kofa. Representative Musa Belete of Nema County there speaking during a live podcast on Wednesday. The British government has committed to supporting efforts to abolish the death penalty in Liberia. British Ambassador to Liberia, Bill Bradley, said Liberia, as a signatory to the second optional protocol to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, is required to impose a moratorium on execution and amend its laws to eliminate the death penalty. Ambassador Neil noted that while many countries are moving towards abolition, states must not be complacent, as last year saw the highest execution rate in a decade. He reaffirmed the commitment of the United Kingdom to the universal abolition of death penalty, stating that his government remains supportive of Liberia's efforts to repeal it from its laws.
So firstly, I'm delighted that the United Kingdom is supporting the work of the civil society human rights advocacy platform of Liberia through this death penalty abolition project. Today's project launch is timely because in the month of October, the international community, the world at large, we mark the 22nd World Day against the death penalty. Now, the United Kingdom is committed to the universal abolition of the death penalty. We have a long-standing policy to oppose the death penalty in all circumstances as a matter of principle. We welcome the fact that the global trend towards abolition of capital punishment continues in all parts of the world today. So around 3/4 of states are either abolitionist in law or practice. But we shouldn't be complacent about our efforts. Last year, recorded executions were the highest number globally in almost a decade. I believe that its use undermines human dignity. It neither makes communities safer nor serves as a deterrent to crime.
Also speaking during the ceremony, the chairman of the board of directors of the platform, Reverend Francis Colley, said there is growing consensus for universal abolition of the death penalty and torture, and it is the right time for Liberia to join the rest of the world to abolish these two cruel anti-human rights acts. Reverend Colley underscored the need for the Liberian government and the CSOs to use collective approach to eradicate inhumane treatment, including torture.
There is a growing consensus for universal abolition of penalty and torture, and as such, it is also timely that Liberia is joining all counterparts across the world for the abolition of torture and death penalty. True core anti-human rights acts melted against an accused individual. Currently, there are 12 persons who are on death rows and detained at the different prisons in Liberia. We need a collective approach for the government of Liberia and the CSO's platforms to eradicate inhumane treatment, eradications and return of victims who were allegedly tortured in the past. Torture and death penalty should be totally unacceptable under the laws of Liberia and our country's judicial system. She found at these inhumane practices just like any other civilized country around the world.
He is the board chair of the Civil Society Human Rights Advocacy Platform of Liberia, Reverend Francis Colley. They're speaking earlier on. You listened to British Ambassador to Liberia, Neil Bradley. They spoke at the launch of the project to end or abolish the death penalty in Liberia. Liberia signed the second optional protocol to the Civil and Political Rights, or the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, in 2005, but the country is yet to ratify and domesticate. The ceremony today was held in Monrovia and graced by representatives of the Ministry of Justice, the European Union, the West African Regional Organization, ECOWAS, civil society organizations, the media, among others. In more news tonight, a staunch member or supporter of the Unity Party-led government is proposing the establishment of a team to keep the president updated on the day-to-day happenings in the country. Veteran Liberian journalist Jonathan Paley said the think tank will be busy with capturing the issues being raised by members of the public that are affecting the country. He said when established, the group will also remind the president of promises that he makes at events, including promises made during his inauguration. His interview followed a recent open letter addressed to the president raising these concerns.
Basically, what I was saying earlier, and I'm still saying earlier, is that the president is a busy person, meeting diplomats. And if you go to the executive mansion right now, you'll see a number of people who are lined up to be the president in his home. They are also there. It's not traveling, it's breaking ground or holding meetings with ministers. And so I was saying that when you listen to the public, there are so many lingering and unfinished and unresolved matters that should be brought to the attention of the president. Some of them will never be taken to the president by ministers because the ministers are themselves very busy with what they are doing, their respective jobs that were given to them. And so I was suggesting the setting up of a small team, you can call it a think tank, that will be responsible for capturing all the concerns that people have in the public, things that they know the president should be addressing, but it's not because apparently people who should be reminding him are not reminding him about. So that this thing is the one that will seek audience for the president from time to time with Mr. President. These are the issues. For example, the asset declaration. It's been more than a month now since the results came out, and some ministers never, or some officials of government did not comply. But those who didn't comply will not go to the president to say, Mr. President, we didn't comply. But it is this particular group that I'm talking about, a body that is going to go to the president to remind him that in the name of good governance, it's important for you to do something about this to be put behind you.
Jonathan Pelede also told RCR News on Wednesday that the team will comprise of volunteers who are interested in the good of the country. He said the initiative will not place any financial burden on the government.
I would say that people who want to get involved in the thing should know that it's voluntary. And I think there shouldn't be any financial implication because for some of us, there is a way to help. You don't have to pay a dime to the people who are doing that. It could be just a body that maybe one time a week they can decide to meet in the evening hours to read the dailies, to look at what people are saying, to come with different suggestions. So there shouldn't be any financial implication because letting this to go without being done will even be more costly than the resources that we put in individually to get it done. So this is not another organization or group that will be sending budget proposal to the Ministry of Finance for support. No, it's purely voluntary, but I think we have to do this. This is my first time venturing into the public sector. I'm a journalist throughout 30 years of my life with the BBC and so and so forth. So supporting a government for the first time, just as I campaign for this government here in Maserado, in Lofa, in Magibi, in Bon and Nima counties, I think the way to help this government is to start advancing kind of proposals. The former interim president, Judy Bryant, the late, says to me before that the presidency cuts you off from the public because people who are allowed to come around you by protocol are people who normally will not come to tell you the truth or will come for their own interest. But if you were to listen out there, you will get to know what the people are thinking. So
He is Jonathan Pelele, the speaking, a staunch supporter of the Unity Party-led government, former representative candidate in District 8, Nemba County, as well as former correspondent for BBC in Liberia. He spoke during an interview with Truth FM today. With little past the half-hour mark, it is a reminder you are listening to News Desk for the 5 minutes of latest news from Liberia and other parts of our one world. The top stories we are following tonight: President Joseph Boakai launches Liberia's first doctoral programs at the University of Liberia, described the occasion as a milestone in Liberia's academic development. Under pressure, House Speaker Funati Kofa vows to resist the holding of separate section, but the majority bloc of the House of Representatives on Thursday says he will use the legal means to compel them under his authority. British government commits to supporting efforts to abolish the death penalty in Liberia as the civil society human rights advocacy platform launches the abolition of the death penalty project, and of the Home Front, Nigeria's anti-corruption agency drops money laundering case against a top cryptocurrency executive to allow him to get medical treatment abroad. In more news tonight, an international conservationist, Cynthia Blanford, has indicated that among the nations of the world, Liberia is best suited to overcome the threat emanating from climate change. Speaking to RCR News on Wednesday, Cynthia Blanford said Liberia has a huge opportunity to address the issue of climate change and become a leader in the fight to mitigate its impact. The American-based conservationist noted that with the Ultimate Partnership, the Green Enterprise Development and Innovation Hub continues to play in Liberia, the world would not be in error to rate as the country that saves and promotes biodiversity in the face of global climate change.
Liberia is well suited to be one of the best in the world in terms of addressing issues around climate change. We believe Liberia has a huge opportunity to become a leader in this area. GEDI stands for Green Enterprise Development and Innovation Hub, working with underserved communities, particularly women who are in the forest and others, to help build this initiative where we can become a country that saves, replants trees, climate change. Liberia is a very powerful nation when it comes to climate change. We just not have to take advantage of it. Working with EPA, Liberia has 40%, I think, of the remaining trees in the Guinea rainforest, and so we want to ensure that we continue to have that type of growth. So when trees are cut down, we talk about replanting trees. We want to make sure that we are good stewards of what God has blessed this nation with. And
Cynthia Blanford is the president of the University Consortium. She spoke Wednesday during the signing of a tripartite memorandum of understanding involving the Cotton University, Nimba University, and the African Methodist Episcopal University in Monrovia. The MOU was signed as part of the Higher Education for Conservation activities funded by USAID with an aim to build the skills of Liberia's forest and natural resource workforce to support conservation. The newly appointed director of the Zozo Rural Teachers Training Institute in Lofa County, Abi Kotu Kakula, has announced ambitious plans to elevate the institution from a B certificate program to bachelor's degree programs. In his first media engagement, Kakula highlighted CRTTR's reputation as one of Liberia's leading teacher training institutions and emphasized the need to provide an improved learning environment for inspiring teachers in the region.
So in due course in time, our long-range plan is to elevate the institution beyond the B certificate program, because my plan is that we should make LT as a teaching college. It should be a teaching college where we will have people coming here graduating from the institution where BSc is. Because this place is central in terms of the location of the country. I mean, once you have a teaching college here, we don't have any reason going to Bonjama, going to local university, going to University of Liberia. We can stay right here and their degree, and then we can use the English college. So our problem here is that there are a lot of shortage of teachers in the rural institution. So when you build them here, you educate them, you produce them here, it is likely enough that it will stay around. So we are working on those issues. These are very paramount to us. We are going to be visiting them, especially the dry season. At those times, meeting stakeholders, educational stakeholders, to be hanging here with them, encourage them to send their experiences because they are in the educational sector. Herald the news, the good news of being a teacher. That's what we'll be doing when out there with the DOs and CEOs in the rural countries. Then we have 3 countries here in number. So these are 2 kind of focusing.
He is the newly appointed director of the Zozo Rural Teachers Training Institute in Lofa County, Abi Kotu Kakula, there speaking during his first media engagement. The Rubber Development Funds Incorporated is calling on Firestone Liberia and other rubber buyers to subscribe to the international rubber commodity rate. The Rubber Development Funds Incorporated is a statutory body established by an act of legislation to regulate the price of rubber. Reading the new Rubber Governing Body's regulation on rubber price Wednesday through a resolution, the Rubber Planters Association of Liberia's vice president craved the indulgence of Firestone Liberia, Jetty, and other rubber producing and buying companies to subscribe to the second buying rate.
The Rubber Development Fund Incorporated out of Dubai has the statutory mandate to regulate the rubber industry. Whereas the act of the national legislature establishing the laws and powers
Ria TV, True FM.
Say Ria TV, True FM.
On Ria TV,
Into Truth FM 96.1.
What's the meaning of the black barrier?
the blackberry is to tell Joseph Bakala if you don't organize yourself in a grateful manner, we will keep your data like
You might say what you want to say.
shall be at least once a month to determine and post the price notice on the first day of the succeeding month. Resolve that the true price determined by the Rubber Development Fund Incorporated shall be distributed to legal processors, exporters of the rubber were posted at prominent locations at their places of business on the first one. Result, and compliance with the market price posted by all other actors in the rubber industry, including rubber buyers, processors, exporters of the rubber operating to be a Republic of Nigeria, that reduction with the same posted price that any of the above-mentioned actors shall be to punitive actions.
Here's Barney Brown, the speaking for his part, the chairman of the Rubber Development Fund Incorporated and former deputy speaker of the House, Topa Morba, has showed the body's commitment to ensuring that rubber planters' well-being are prioritized.
The price for rubber farmers will be improved because in our report, Nigeria, Cameroon, the price is set by CICA as the better plan data for to come up with a monthly price based upon the state percentage, which will be able to give fair price to Liberian rubber farmers. So for the reason we cut the price to be able to honor-based, we encourage black or dirty rubber corporations, even all of mine, to be able to honor this price to the price of the government, because in the past we are always like updated on the rubber farmers. The other farmers up there say that we would ban the government ban export and process rubber. But why our farmers in this country need to have a fair price so we can assist the isolation. And we as farmers, we are complying with the GPNRF and other international organizations. So we have to make sure the rubber development fund in international price the farmers in Liberia, not individual companies. So we encourage every buyers within the republic to be able to pay the price that come out of the price of the government.
Well, folks, this is how we love to come to the end of tonight's presentation of News Desk. But before we go, these are the top stories we followed. President Joseph Boakai launches Liberia's first doctoral programs at the University of Liberia, describes the occasion as a milestone in Liberia's academic development. Under pressure, House Speaker Fonate Kopa vows to resist the holding of separate section by the majority bloc of the House of Representatives this Thursday, says he will use legal means to bring them under his authority. British government commits to supporting efforts to abolish the death penalty in Liberia as the civil society human rights advocacy platform launches the abolition of death penalty project in the country. And of the home front, Nigeria's anti-corruption agency drops money laundering case against a top cryptocurrency executive to allow him to get medical treatment abroad, according to the BBC. Many thanks to all of you for your listening. Thanks to those who watch us live on Real TV on Facebook. Thanks to our reporters, correspondents, and all those who helped to make this edition of News Desk a success. Thanks to our sponsors, Orange Liberia and EcoBank Liberia Limited. Edwin Battaforyen read for us the news bulletin tonight. Copa Sangazara control and coordinated the sounds. My name is Marka Davis. Good night.
Ria TV, True FM.
Say Ria TV, True FM.
On Ria TV,
Into Truth FM 96.1.
what's the meaning of the black barrier?
The black barrier is to tell Joseph Boakai if you don't organize yourself in a grateful manner, we'll keep your data like
You might say what you want to say, but for us, we are here to make sure we build our country